everyone, and we are live. The moment you all been waiting for, Event Success Insights here live from Caen, the south of France. And it's a great pleasure to have with me Priscilla Garcia, the Global Marketing Manager at Unilever. And you have been very busy today.
Yes.
So we're just standing out of the jury room where Priscilla, you had a very long day.
Yes.
Uh, Before we go into Priscilla's background and all the interesting stuff we'll be discussing today under the topic innovation at the intersections of disciplines, the Event Success Insight podcast goes live every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. However, exceptionally now since Luthi is attending Heaven meetings, we are here at Cannes, so we are going live 6:30 now French time, 7:30 in Finland or wherever you're following us from. And Luthi is the leading event success platform straight from Finland for the rest of the world. And in this podcast, I have a chance to interview influential thought leaders, academics, and event professionals, and people who have an interesting story to tell and lessons learned. And that's what we're discussing today with Priscilla. What lessons can we learn from her line of business and to get inspired? So, Priscilla, tell a little bit about your background. We were just saying before we go live that you're from Brazil.
Yes.
Originally, you get a lot of you could be Turkish, you have very
Yes.
international face, you could be
Yes.
Greek, right? But you're based in England.
Yes.
Right? Tell a little bit about your background, what brought you to where you are today.
Sure. I've always been a very international person. So when I was 15 in Brazil, you have this big party, which is like a debutante party. And instead of that, I asked for my dad if I could live abroad. So I lived for 6 months in Canada when I was 15. Then after I finished university, I also lived in France for a bit. I worked at an agency in Paris. I went back to Brazil to finish my studies, started working at Unilever, which is the place that I still work right now.
What did you study, Priscilla?
I studied marketing and advertising.
Right.
And I was with Unilever for a couple of years, really wanted to live abroad again. So I quit Unilever, moved to Switzerland, worked in a digital and communications agency over there, and then went back to Unilever for 4 years in the global headquarters in London. Then I left Unilever again, always looking for the
Interesting
green.
relationship.
Yeah, yes, it is. I can't. I always come back. I feel like if I ever leave again, I'll probably come back to Unilever again in a few years' time. I worked in foods, so foods innovation, and then came back to Unilever about 3.5 years ago, working in the global headquarters in the global marketing teams for first home care and now personal care. So I'm the global marketing manager for Dove.
Great product series. We all love it and use it with great advertising campaigns
so.
as well. Tell a little bit before we go into the in-depth questions regarding innovation about Unilever's. It's a global company, and but there's a variety of brands under its umbrella. So tell a little bit about the company's history.
Sure. So Unilever started over 100 years ago, actually in the UK, with Lord Lever, who decided that he wanted to help bring sanitation to the communities. So he created the first kind of mass-produced soap bar, which was the Sunlight bar. And the whole heritage of the brand, or the Unilever brand, and the ethos of the company is really steeped in what is the purpose that it can bring to people all over the world. Around the 50s and 60s, it merged with a Dutch company. So now it's an Anglo-Dutch company with headquarters both in London and in the Netherlands. And yeah, again, from the get-go has always been about helping consumers and making sure that it's giving a better quality of life for consumers. That's why the whole idea of purpose and purposeful innovation, purposeful communication is very key for the company as well.
Great. And now, with your role as a global marketing manager at Unilever, you are attending Heaven meetings here in the south of France in Cannes as a jury member
Yes.
for Heaven Awards. How was that? How you were invited to join the jury, and what has happened today? Give us a little bit the insights. Do a little bit your inside reporting on what has happened earlier today.
Sure. So, for those of you who are not familiar, so Haven't Awards is all about marketing regarding events and activations. So, it's very focused in that specific branch of communication. And we have B2B, B2C, social events around
Sport and
creative, exactly,
cultural,
sports and culture.
influencer marketing. There's a
Correct.
variety. How many?
Correct.
8 categories?
Yes,
Seven.
yes, yes. And basically, I think what my profile was interesting to the group was, first, I came with a little bit of an international background because in the past it's been a very French focused award. It's still run in French, so that's why it's good to have somebody that, despite having an international background, can still participate in all of the discussions which are being made in French. So I think that helped a lot that I have that experience. But also, I bring a little bit of a different client background, because I feel like some of the juries, we have clients, but we also have ex agency people. So I think having like a very strong client background, looking at from a client perspective, is it branded enough, are the results really helping the company, and the KPIs and the commercial objectives as well. So I bring that kind of specific view into what we are seeing from all of the different cases that are being presented. So today we had a full day.
How
of-
many cases were presented today?
Oof. I'd like to say around 20, maybe something like that. I think overall there are 44 cases. So we're seeing half and half. So today we'll see half, and then tomorrow we'll see the other half. So we went through 3 categories today, and tomorrow we'll go through the rest of the categories. And I'm very happy to say that there are quite a few international applications as well. So we saw applications from Germany, we saw applications from Turkey. I know that there were applications from Serbia as well. So the US. So I like that there's an opportunity for this award to become more international as well.
That's great. So you bring the international air to
Yeah.
Heaven Awards, and you mentioned about the KPIs and different metrics. What are the criteria that you personally, as a judge, or in generally the jury, has in mind when you are assessing those cases and those candidates?
So we're looking at creativity first and foremost.
Creativity.
Yes, we are looking at quality of delivery. So despite whether it was a huge budget or a small budget, we most of the time don't even know how big or how small the investment was, but how well it was developed and delivered. There is also a very interesting CSR event element that we are trying to encourage more and more the events to come. So one of the pillars that we are looking at is CSR. So if there's anything that has like a higher purpose or corporate social responsibility,
And I think Unilever has also sustainability and
At
corporate
the
social
heart.
responsibility at the heart of
Yes,
its values
absolutely,
and operations. So I
absolutely.
think that perhaps you feel that profile very well.
Yes,
Very well
yes,
from that point of view.
I think so. And we see more and more a lot of these places, even if that's not at the heart of the idea, they are making sure that a lot of the things are being taken care of. So, for instance, just an example, there was a case that we were looking today about Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead in Mexico, for a tequila brand. And they also made sure that they were organizing with an NGO around mental health to make sure that at least the message was not negative
Right.
around death and that kind of stuff.
It
So
could be
I
quite
think
depressing for people who have experienced loss.
correct,
Right.
absolutely. So I think there is that kind of new look a more responsible look into
Mm.
everything that we do, probably over the last few years, to make sure that everything is seen through all of these different lenses that could or could not harm people. So I really like that.
Great.
That
You the first criterion you mentioned is creativity.
Yes.
So that leads me to my question, which is the core topic of today's podcast with Priscilla Garcia from Unilever: innovation and creativity. What is creativity? What is innovation? And then we go into how that can be applied in your line of
Yep.
business, in product development, for consumer goods, and then what lessons can we learn when we're talking about events?
Sure. So I think innovation, if I look at the root of the word, at least in Portuguese, it always has nova, which is new, right? So I think it's a way of looking at things differently, a way of creating things differently, a new product, a new service, a new something that is unlike what you've seen before. So I think that's the core of innovation. And it's a very difficult discipline because obviously a lot of things in the world have already been created and thought
Mm.
of to death. So finding a different way to solve people's problems through something that is new and unique is very important for the future of FMCG, which is the category that I work in fast moving consumer goods, but also tech and communication, advertising, all of this. I think innovation and always looking to strive into something different and new should be at the heart of everything that we do.
And when you said about that everything has already been discovered and it's hard to come up with new ideas, I think innovation is found exactly in the intersection of different disciplines. So when you have we speak about it in the podcast about event success management, which is at the intersection of the traditional event management, if you
Mhm.
could sum it up in a circle. And then on the other hand, we have agile methodology that comes from the software industry.
Yeah.
So when the two are merging, you have something new. So perhaps you don't reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
as you said, you can look at things with a different angle, with a different
Yes.
perspective. And I think it's important to learn from the past, to learn what lessons we keep from this product, what successes and what went well and what didn't go so well, then we omit that.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. I think it's exactly that. It's not about reinventing the wheel, but maybe turning the wheel into a rocket ship.
Right.
So, you're still using it for motion, but through a completely different means.
So, in your line of work now, how do you apply innovation and creativity, and how do you work with your colleagues and your teams to really turn that wheel into something else and
Mhm.
really take uh, a consumer good and take it to the next level and meeting really the needs of the consumer of today and the society of today? What is the spin and what is the process? How do you go about it?
Yeah, I
And
think
if you can mention a concrete example, if you
sure,
could share
sure.
that you developed with your team over the years.
I think the at the heart of it is what you're saying, the consumer, right? So making sure that we're always looking at what the consumer really wants and what is most relevant to them. Once you are very clear on a gap in the market, a consumer tension, an opportunity that hasn't been catered to before, it makes it that much easier to create something that can cater to that specific issue, right? But the way that we use it in innovation, it permeates all of the process. So from the very first co-creation ideas or different ways to brainstorm, bringing digital medium now to also help with brainstorming and being able to connect with consumers from all over the world, even that early on in the phase, to understand if what we are thinking about is an interesting idea or not. Our R&D team in Dove is in the US. So obviously being able to connect with them effectively as well and create a very good base ground from them to then work on is very key. And then innovation technology plays a huge role there. For the R&D is obviously key. Innovation, coming up with new ways of addressing skin concerns, addressing hair issues or any other problems that you might have in personal care products. When we are looking at validating ideas, new tools utilizing AI or utilizing digital quick methods of validation is also very key, because the most important thing is we want to make sure that the product is being sold in the market as soon as possible. And a lot of these internal processes tend to get in the way of speed. So I think innovation in that really helps as well. And then finally, obviously, innovation in the way that we communicate and in the way that we bring it to market. So um, point of sale materials and 360 campaigns, events, and finding new ways of breaking through the day to day, because it is very cluttered. And especially with social media, it's very hard for you to get people's attention. So finding a way to really cut through and get people's attention is key. And I think new channels, new ways of communicating are very important for that sense. Yeah.
Excellent. So what I keep here, I think the core points is exactly what we discuss also in event success management, having the participant at heart, having the consumer at heart. And I think
Yes.
the same applies for event. When you're an event organizer, the as you mentioned, to differentiate and make sure that you attract attendees and participants to your events, and in a very already cluttered and many opportunities of events around. The
Yes,
biggest
yes.
investment for an event is the time investment that a participant is
Yes.
making. It's the sacrifice
Yes.
and investment that somebody's making for you to come here to this event. You sacrifice personal time with your family, with your work, with your favorite hobby,
Yeah.
right? So we make a personal decision to invest our time. Time is money. So
Yes.
the old saying is true.
Yeah.
So how really the consumer, because when we talk about products, in I think what you mentioned, so it's not, when you have this consumer centric approach, you focus not on the product but on the experience you create for the consumer.
Yes.
So you go away from what the product does to
Yes.
wash your hair and clean your skin and feed you in the basic needs, but you go beyond that. So I think that's very key, and I see it as a connection to events, because we do really in events try to cater to the participant experience and having the focus on their experience.
Yes.
What other lessons learned you think from your experience, and of course being yourself an event attendee, right? Whether you're sitting on a
Yes.
jury or whether you're consuming culture, or you're going to a sports event, you were watching even a sports event yesterday.
I was. Yeah.
So what you as an event attendee think it's important to make an event a success? What makes an event
That's a very
success,
good
basically,
question.
from your personal
Yes,
perspective?
yes, yes.
And perhaps you can touch upon here the your own Unilever events, internal events you have, whether it's HR events, so from team building to Christmas parties to what you organize
Yeah.
internally. So what do you do at Unilever internal events, and then what is your event participant experience and expectations when you attend events externally?
Sure. I think for me personally, the most important thing is surprise and delight. Because for me to take my time, which, as we talked about, is valuable the way everybody else's time is valuable, and to go and participate on something, I want to make sure that I'm getting a very rewarding experience out of it. And because, as we're talking about, a lot of things have already been created, a lot of events happen all the time, to be able to be something that will make me think about it in a month's time, in 2 months' time, in 3 months' time, needs to have that element of surprise and delight that I wasn't thinking about. So as a consumer or as an attendee, I think for me that's very important. As a client or somebody creating events, there's obviously the very basic evaluators that we use. Is it branded enough? Are consumers going to remember that this is from my brand versus from a competitor's brand? Are we getting enough impressions to go beyond just the people that are participating? But I think most importantly, regardless of these business minded KPIs, is about creating a unique opportunity for the consumer to connect with the brand in a way that they are never able to with just the product or with just the TV, or with what they see on social media. Because, as you were saying, yes, the product is about an experience, and we innovate to make sure that all of the different touch points of the product experience are creating an elevated kind of connection with the consumers. But it is not the same as immersing yourselves into the brand ethos and identity and look and feel for a couple of hours, which is what happens when you go into, for instance, a Magnum store, right? And you are able to buy a Magnum ice cream, which is also a Unilever brand.
I
And
love that ice cream.
yeah, me too. I'm a big fan. So I think it makes a huge difference, and it's a shame that in the grand scheme of things, when you're having to prioritize budget, it is not the thing that is most prioritized, because obviously when you're looking at mass audience, TV or digital, there are ways that are more effective from an investment perspective. But if you're looking at depth and richness and loyalty and really touching the hearts of the consumers, I don't think you can do that as well as doing it in an event.
Mhm. And I would like to, you spoke about the metrics and what you're looking into. I'd like to hear mention about what Lyyti has developed from Finland to the rest of the world, the experience value score. The experience value score is a North Star metric that captures exactly the gut feeling of the event participants
Well,
by asking one question. The question that is sent automatically after the event has finished is this event worth my time?
mm-hmm.
So, from a scale 1 to 5, with emojis behind those, there's a mathematical formula
Yeah.
and psychology. There's also the possibility below to write their open feedback to justify their answer, why the event was worth my time, or was my time worth it or wasted, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And with this North Star metric, you have an idea of where you're heading in a world that is changing constantly. Then the North Star is there to guide you, and of course other KPIs and metrics are valuable, depends on what you're looking after. But I think it's important to have also, when you try to measure too many things, perhaps you learn nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you agree with that?
I agree completely. And I love this idea of getting, it's much more of a gut feel, it's much more of an emotional response to it, rather than, for instance, we've seen many times when you're asking people, would you buy this brand? 80% they will say yes,
Yeah.
but you don't actually see the sales increase. So
Yeah.
in the end, it's just lip service.
Right.
So I think if you're bringing it back to them, is it worth more time, or is it, for instance, another measure that I love is, would you recommend a friend, or would you bring your friends or your parents or your husband to come with? That also,
Yeah, this, and if we talk about we can say it straight away, NPS, for instance, that's great to recommend a brand to a friend. However, the EVS, the experience value score, just does that and more for events. Because, to attend an event and then go and say, would you recommend this to your friends? It's like, okay, I just attended your event. Yeah, the food was great. I recommend, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's apples and oranges.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
EVS captures exactly that by asking the question, worth it or wasted of my time? Was it worth it or wasted?
I love that.
And it captures exactly that gut feeling that the participant has. So that's great. How about, Priscilla, the rest of your day here? Tomorrow you said you'll be evaluating the rest of the categories, and then tell us a little bit about the final, all the winners, and what will happen. What's the gala about?
Yes, I'm
And
very
so
excited about
tell
the gala,
us about
obviously.
it. So we're talking about Heaven Awards. Heaven Meetings is where we are now, and Heaven Awards is the place, the event where Priscilla is sitting on the jury. How many judges you are in total?
We are 14.
14. Right. So tell us a little bit what happens tomorrow, and then what happens at the end with the big celebration.
So yes, tomorrow we will see the rest of the cases, and then in the evening we'll have a beautiful celebration I think if anybody ever wanted to become a jury in the Cannes Film Festival, it is kind of that dream come true. And it's funny because my mom explained it to my grandma that I was a jury at the Cannes Film Festival, and my grandma
Is your
called
grandma
me
in
yesterday.
Brazil?
In Brazil.
Okay. How
And
did your mother explain to
She
grand-
said she's a jury in Cannes, and then my grandma assumed that was the Cannes Film Festival, and I had the whole family calling me yesterday, being really excited about it, and I had to explain and dash their dreams. But in any case, it's a very glamorous affair.
very close to that.
It is. It's the second best thing.
Right.
Yes, we'll have a big event where we will announce all of the winners. And the beauty is that the jury only makes up for 60% of the vote, and the rest 40% is the people that are making part of the event.
As we
that
said,
are
they are the ones at the heart.
Exactly. So regardless of what we have decided today, anything can change tomorrow. By the time that the people or the attendees are going through the cases themselves, there will be 30 seconds worth of each of the applications, and they can decide on their favorites. And then we will announce the favorites in all of the categories. And I'm announcing the B2B
You're
event
the
winner.
Is it the first?
It is the first.
So Priscilla Garcia
Yes.
will be announced the B2B event, so the most successful event in that category, and I believe
A lot of pressure.
Oh, it's a pressure. What are you wearing tomorrow?
I am going to be wearing a black one suit.
All right, elegant black.
Yes.
Great choice.
We were told it's gala, but not too gala.
Right.
So we're managing it.
Great. Thank you, Priscilla. But this
Thank
is not
you.
the end. I hope this was worth your time.
Absolutely, this was worth my time. You can send me the file
I
later.
can send you the EVS afterwards. This is the Event Success Insights podcast special edition. I know it's late. However, the recording will stay for us in LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And I would like to invite my colleague, country manager from Lyyti, Finland, Lari Lempinen. He will conduct the interview in French because Priscilla, apart from the perfect English skills, she is trilingual, so she speaks French and Portuguese, obviously, Brazil native. So Priscilla, I'll give the floor to my colleague Lari. Enchanté, pleasure meeting you.
Merci beaucoup.
And
bienvenue à Cannes.
Yes, thank you. Lari.
Merci.
Salut.
Ok. Donc, on est bon?
Oui, tout va bien.
Donc, bienvenue à notre premier podcast en version française. C'est le podcast Event Success Insights. Aujourd'hui, directement de Cannes, de Event Meetings. Je m'appelle Lari Lempinen. Je suis responsable de France chez Lyyti, la plateforme numéro 1 de Event Success Management. Et j'ai le plaisir de vous annoncer notre invitée Priscilla Garcia, Global Marketing chez Unilever. Bienvenue, Priscilla.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir.
Pour commencer, je propose que vous partagez un peu votre rôle chez Unilever et puis on va parler un peu de Event Awards aussi. Vous êtes un membre de jury.
Oui, bien sûr. Donc oui, je travaille dans le département de marketing chez Unilever, spécialement sur la marque Dove. Donc c'est une marque qui est un peu partout. Et je travaille dans la boîte globale de Unilever. Donc on fait la stratégie et la création de nouveaux produits et la création de nouvelles campagnes qui est après diffusée partout dans le monde. Et aujourd'hui, je suis ici dans le rôle de jury pour Event Awards. C'est un awards un peu ciblé sur l'événement. Donc, comme vous bien le connaissez, beaucoup plus expert que moi dans des événements. Et oui, je suis ici dans un rôle un peu international parce que la plupart des jurys sont de français. Et on fait toutes les discussions en français et la plupart des applicants aussi sont en français. Donc, il fallait une personne qui peut prendre ce regard international, mais en même temps conduire toutes les conversations en français et être à l'aise avec la langue aussi. Donc, on verra. Aujourd'hui, c'est ma première journée. Demain, peut-être, le français, c'est tout parti, mais jusqu'ici, ça va bien.
Excellent. peut-être avant de peut-être dévoiler quelques secrets, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé derrière les portes, si vous partagez aussi un peu de votre rôle chez Unilever et le marketing et les différentes campagnes sur lesquelles vous travaillez actuellement.
Ah oui, je viens de changer de rôle parce qu'avant, je travaillais sur une marque de lessive. La marque de lessive Skip s'appelle Skip ici en France. C'est le Dirt is Good globalement. Et ça fait 3 mois que je suis dans l'équipe globale de Dove Skincare. Donc, ma rôle, c'est plutôt de lancer de nouveaux produits dans des white spaces, donc les lieux qu'on n'a pas vraiment touchés. Avec Dove, je sais, il y en a, parce que c'est une marque énorme, mais notre business de skincare, il est trop petit. Donc, l'idée, c'est de vraiment prendre les pays qui connaissent Dove et qui aiment la marque, mais qui ne connaissent pas la gamme de produits de la peau, de soins de peau, et lancer le produit de soins de peau là-bas. Donc, par exemple, Inde, Brésil, Mexique, Argentine et les autres pays de l'Amérique latine, c'est plutôt ça que je fais.
D'accord, très intéressant. Vous avez cité l'innovation et donc je veux simplifier un peu, mais on peut voir qu'il y a 2 types d'innovation. Il y a l'innovation plutôt linéaire où nous allons développer quelque chose d'existant après de façon significative et après cette innovation que je trouve peut-être un peu plus intéressante, cette innovation intersectionnelle où il y a plusieurs disciplines, plusieurs domaines qui sont fusionnés et si vous ouvrez un peu qu'est-ce que c'est l'innovation chez Unilever?
Donc, chez Unilever, on a 3 sélections d'innovation qu'on appelle Horizons. Donc, c'est Horizon 1, 2 et 3. Donc, le premier horizon, c'est de petites innovations, par exemple, une nouvelle variante d'un produit qu'on a déjà, mais c'est un nouveau parfum ou une nouvelle boîte, mais en fait, le produit, il est le même. Dans Horizon 2, ce sont des produits un peu plus différents. Donc, c'est-à-dire, normalement, j'ai un shampoing, j'avais jamais créé un conditionnateur. Donc voilà, c'est un conditionnateur, mais c'est toujours un produit plus ou moins connu. Et le Horizon 3, qui bien sûr est le plus intéressant, ce sont des différentes channels et les façons différentes de vendre la marque. Direct to consumer et utiliser AR ou VR ou le metaverse et tout ça. Donc, ce sont des innovations qui, bien sûr, de nouveaux produits, mais aussi les nouvelles façons de vendre. Donc, les deux ensemble. Et ça, c'est bien sûr le plus intéressant. Et comme équipe globale, on joue un peu dans le 3, mais plutôt dans l'horizon 2 et 3.
Donc, vous travaillez surtout avec les produits et notre business, c'est l'événementiel et les expériences qui sont bien sûr importants aussi pour le produit. Comment vous voyez? Est-ce qu'il y a des choses que vous voyez? Qu'est-ce que l'industrie événementielle pourrait apprendre de développement de produits? Qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait transférer de développement de produits à développement des événements?
Ça, c'est très intéressant. Je crois que, comme on disait avant en anglais, mettre le client au cœur de tout, ou le consommateur au cœur de tout, c'est vraiment important. Et je crois que moi, dans mon expérience, j'ai vu plusieurs événements qui sont intéressants pour être intéressants. Donc, on a un nouveau truc digital, on va le mettre, voilà, une nouvelle technologie, mais à la fin, l'expérience de consommateur, l'expérience de la personne qui va passer pour cet événement n'est pas vraiment pris en considération deux fois. Donc, des bons événements, pas du tout, bien sûr.
Des bonnes rencontres.
Exactement. Donc, pour moi, je crois que chez Unilever, et on appelle toujours Unilever l'école de marketing parce que c'est vraiment c'est une grande entreprise pour comprendre tous les processus de marketing. Et le consommateur, on n'appelle pas le consommateur, on appelle les gens. Parce que ce n'est pas les consommateurs, c'est plus que ça. Donc, les gens, ils sont toujours au cœur de tout ce qu'on fait. Et je crois que ce regard est vraiment intéressant dans tous les touch points et l'événement aussi, bien sûr. Mais je crois que c'est une leçon qui est déjà bien apprise dans plusieurs des années. C'est juste une question de le remettre en conscience plus en plus.
Oui, quelle richesse ça doit être dans une entreprise de 100 ans d'expérience, plus de 100 ans d'expérience, des activités partout dans le monde, de différentes gammes de produits. Peut-être pour enchaîner, en fait, si on parle un peu d'expérience, et qu'est-ce que vous avez vécu là derrière les portes? Vous avez vu, je ne sais même pas combien de nominés pour les awards.
Je crois qu'on a vu plus ou moins 20 aujourd'hui.
20 nominés.
Oui, et demain, on va voir encore une vingtaine.
Des catégories des sports, B2C,
Sport,
B2B.
B2C, B2B, influencer, culture, donc un peu de tout. Et j'étais vraiment inspirée par plusieurs idées. Des idées avec un budget énorme et des idées avec aucun budget. Et on voit vraiment que la créativité n'a pas besoin d'argent. Parce qu'il y a plusieurs idées qui ont été vraiment étonnées, qui étaient faites que vraiment guérilla, avec 2 gens qui ont créé ça seuls pendant la pandémie. Ils n'avaient pas de temps, ils n'avaient rien à faire. Donc, ils ont commencé à créer quelque chose qui est devenu énorme. Donc, je crois vraiment la créativité des gens est super inspirante.
D'accord, c'est la créativité des gens qui était vraiment le facteur le plus puissant potentiellement. Le budget joue un peu, j'imagine.
Ah oui, oui.
Très bien, très bien. Et donc, qu'est-ce qui va se passer demain? On va dévoiler
demain,
les gagnants.
On continue. Ouais, voilà. Donc, il y aura la suite des présentations des autres cas. Et à la fin de la journée, il y aura une gala très chic où on va présenter les gagnants. Et le jury fait partie de 60% de la note.
Oui.
Et les gens qui sont ici dans les awards votent aussi. Et ils sont responsables pour une autre 40%. Donc à la fin, même si nous, on a bien aimé quelque chose, demain, ça peut être quand on reçoit l'enveloppe.
Vous savez pas encore.
Non, on n'a aucune idée en fait. L'enveloppe, c'est un peu comme Oscar, que les gens, ils n'ont aucune idée de quoi ils vont dire. Mais c'est vraiment excitant.
Et donc, j'ai entendu aussi que vous allez distribuer un trophée, c'est ça?
Oui.
Quelle catégorie?
Le B2B.
B2B, ouais. Intéressant. Ouais. C'est dans notre cœur de métier chez l'UT aussi. Ok, je pense qu'on est bon pour le Event Success Insight cette semaine, donc première édition française. Mille merci à Priscilla pour votre venue. Et je vous rappelle, donc chez l'IT, L2YTI, nous organisons des podcasts tous les mercredis. Donc vous pouvez suivre Chrissa, vous pouvez suivre notre page sur LinkedIn. Et je peut-être, Chrissa,
you call my name and
yes,
she comes magically.
Do you want to share the final words?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you everybody for watching. This will be recorded afterwards podcast in Facebook, LinkedIn. We had some issues in LinkedIn, unfortunately, but anyway, the recording will be found there afterwards, both in English and in French. So thank you very much, Priscilla, for joining us, and we wish you a nice, relaxing rest of the night. But yes. I guess you'll be attending now the evening party.
Yes, there is an evening party, but we obviously need to be very proper because tomorrow there's a long day of deliberations ahead of us. So maybe one glass of wine max.
That's it. That's what I do. Otherwise, I feel so terribly sleepy and exhausted. So thank you everybody for watching. And Priscilla Garcia, thank you very much from Unilever. Merci beaucoup. And this stream is ending now. Next time, I will be in Finland interviewing one of the founders of Sisters Inc. event agency, one of the biggest in Finland. Very inspirational ladies as well. Check us out and go to the Event Success community on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Kiss from us. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.